Welcome to Yoga Biz Camp with myself, Michael J. I'm a yoga business coach with 25 plus years of experience as a creative, a total tech geek, and a yoga business owner. Today I have my beautiful friend, returning Coach KI, Christine Irving, talking about money mindset, abundance rather than scarcity, and we conclude with a short EFT tapping session to remove money blocks. Enjoy. Welcome to another episode of Yoga Biz Camp. I have Christine Irving again, Coach KI, who was my very first guest. So that's not very many episodes ago. But I have to say, Christine, I have had so many people talking about your episode, not all yoga people either, but
Cool.
you made a great impact on people. So if anybody has not listened to the first episode, I definitely recommend it. I'm going to give a little bit of overview about Coach KI, Christine Irving. She's a dear friend of mine, and she's also a certified life coach that's been coaching for over 18 years. She's a certified hypnotherapist and RTT practitioner. RTT is a modality that uses hypnotherapy to get to the root cause of whatever is keeping you stuck or stopping you from living a life free of limiting beliefs and thoughts. She's also been using the tapping technique, which is getting really good results. And at the end of this podcast today, she's going to do a short tap on having an abundance mindset. So welcome, Christine.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
I'm stoked to be here again.
yeah, thank you so much. And I'm going to share this. We have a mutual client. So I know that you are doing great work. So I know you have confidentiality, so you have not shared this with me, but she has shared this with me.
Oh,
And what I gotta say, like she's been a yoga student for a long time, and I would say, there was always a sort of a frenzied thing about her. She was always hustling and running around and in a frenzy mode. And I have noticed a significant difference in her. And at the end of class a couple of weeks ago, I said, you know, what's going on here? And she's like, it's Christine.
oh,
Uh,
that's so nice to
yeah,
hear.
and she said, well, I'm going to share this because the yogis will understand this one. But she shared that she literally, through a session with you, felt like something physically drop out of her body. And then she said it was guilt. And she's like,
Yeah,
she's like, I'm guilt free.
yeah.
So, and this is something I very much saw with my own eyes. So the work you are doing, I think it's pretty significant.
Mhm.
Do you want to tell a little bit about the RTT world?
Sure. Well, actually, that story says everything, doesn't it? I mean, that
Yeah,
is really quite something. And I think a lot of us have this feeling of like, do I have to be working on this stuff forever?
yeah,
Do I have to keep going back to the well and keep going back to those crappy stories that we ruminate about? And what this particular client demonstrated so beautifully is how when we can access our subconscious mind, which is what we're doing in RTT, what we're doing through hypnosis, we can really get at that root cause and once and for all release ourselves from that.
yeah.
And then the key after that is the rewiring of our neural
Right.
pathways.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's a really important part. So it's not kind of one and done. You come in and, poof, magic. It does kind
yeah,
of feel a bit magical at the time, but then what she did and what all my clients do is for at least 21 days after, most go further, they listen to a recording that's about 15 minutes long every day, and that rewires those neural pathways and allows you to feel guilt-free,
yeah.
anxiety free. I also work with a lot of different tools, which you mentioned tapping, which is EFT, which stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. And
Okay.
I'm going to do a little demo at the end, which will be awesome. And this is something so simple and that everyone can do. So I also leave clients with that tool that they can use on their own. And everybody today that's listening, when they go through this, will be able to take this away and use it on any emotion that is holding you back
Yeah.
or wreaking havoc in your life.
And a lot of the work you do is about, because we're going to be talking a little bit about money mindset
Oh,
today.
my
And
favorite.
so a lot of the work you do is about undoing all those words that we say to ourselves,
Yep. Yeah.
right?
all the crappy. And wow, money, right? It just, it's like wildfire. Like you just light it, and people, everybody has, there's a lot of energy around money because money is energy, and there is a lot of often negative energy around beliefs that we created from how we grew up, from our parents, from our environment, from our jobs that we worked in. So money can create all of this crap. And then you talk about the things you say to yourself. Well, your mind doesn't care if what you say is good or bad, or beneficial or supportive or crappy or limiting. It just simply acts on what you say. So if your words, for example, around money are there's never enough, I'm never going to make enough, it doesn't last, it runs through my fingers, which was one I used to say all the time, like just where did it go?
Yeah.
And or any number of things, pick one around money. Well, what would be some of yours, Michael?
Around my money,
Or
the
have been?
roadblocks.
The thoughts around money,
Well,
like just maybe beliefs.
yeah, I don't know about the thoughts. I know
Oh,
about the patterns that
mm,
I have to sometimes battle. And
yeah.
so and that, around abundance and success. And I know
Mm-hmm.
that for me, I sometimes go through, um, I'm on a path to do a really big project, and you know just halfway through I start finding distractions to take me away from that.
Of course.
And yeah, and so it could be well, this morning it was just cleaning a plant. like
A lucky plant.
right,
It's so clean. Every.
I was dusting a plant. But I'll find that and so that's a little bit of a battle for me, because
Yeah.
I have to push myself through that, past it. It's like, okay, no,
Yeah.
get back on track. So I know
Yeah.
that's a pattern with me that is a constant thing that I have to try and over.
So what's amazing is that can be a pattern that gets broken once and for
Yeah,
all.
yeah,
And that's kind of what I like to suggest to people is that, we say, oh, I just know that that's what it's going to be like for me. And I know that that's what's going to happen. Well, what if it didn't have to? What if you could get behind what that, I would suggest fear is around this isn't going to make me the money I thought it was going to make. I'm not going to succeed. I'm not, whatever those crappy thoughts are,
mm,
and really getting beneath it. But sometimes we do have to like muscle our way through.
yeah, yeah,
And, I have a great story around, when everything is looking dire. So my life before this was I owned a retail business for 20 years. And it was near the beginning of when I just had the one store and I had a business partner, and things were terrible. And I distinctly remember a day actually doing the thing that none of us want to do, which is looking into my financials, which is looking into the reality of my situation. And it was the first time I had done that. And this was probably 2 years into the business, maybe, yeah, 2 years in. And I owed $250,000. And I remember just putting my hands on my desk. It was one of those corner desks, and just rocking back and forth. And now that I know about this kind of stuff, I realize I was regulating my body with rocking, because that's regulating my emotions in my body. And I'm rocking back and forth and thinking, $250,000. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And, in a moment like that, so it's either, when things get like this, you have two choices. And, it's go big or go home. It's like it's one or the other. And you either go big, not keep going. You keep going, it's just going to get worse. So
yeah,
you either have to really assess the situation and choose to change course, or go bigger is what I did
yeah.
and what worked for me. So my business partner at the time, she was like, I'm out. Like, I start talking about buying a second business. She's like, you are bananas. Like, what are you even thinking? And so she got out, and we are still dear friends, and she's doing amazing. And she went to a very secure company and is doing phenomenal in her career. But that wasn't the route that I wanted to go. So a big thing to understand is, if any of your listeners are feeling like they're in that position, it's really digging into what is your personality type? What do you value? What are the things? And for me, I'm okay with risk.
Yeah.
It kind of
Yeah.
makes me a little excited. I tingle a little when I make some of these big calls, even though they scare the living crap out of me.
Yeah.
So it was one of those where then the opportunity came up for me to buy the second store, and I went for it, and it was the best thing I ever did.
Yeah.
And I ended up having a very successful business that I was able to sell years later. So, but it was one of those moments of like, holy crap,
Yeah.
call it your come to Jesus moments, whatever they are,
Yeah.
where you look at it and you just think, what am I going to do now?
Well,
So you dig in.
my clients, and I think most of the listeners on here are yoga studios or yoga teachers that are making it a go of it. And I think, that independent soul, you have to have that risk factor, right? I mean, I,
Yeah.
I know, many people have been in the same job for 20 years that absolutely do not understand my way of life.
Yeah.
Like just don't understand that at all. So when you just said there, you ignored the finances. So
Mm-hmm.
let's just talk quickly about the yoga studios, because when I start with a yoga studio, it is not an uncommon scenario where they just literally ignore the finances of the business and don't even have a clue about profit. And I think my mindset when I first started with my yoga studio was I didn't go into it to create a business. I went into it to create a community. And so the business mindset came actually after I met you. So,
Mm-hmm.
and you were like, you got to look at the numbers. You've got to be realistic about this.
Yeah.
So what is it that pay myself enough, just enough, and
Mm-hmm.
not having a profit mindset, or that I am worth more than this?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the stumbling block can be there?
Well, that's such an interesting question, because what I've learned, I think before I did this whole hypnosis thing, I had a lot of answers around that.
Yeah.
And they were really my story and what I thought my story was. But
Okay.
now that I've dug in a little bit more, I want to suggest that it can be different for everybody.
Yeah.
So some of there's common things for sure. I mean, people will always say fear of success, fear of, what if people say no? So I had a couple interesting experiences through what I do. Luckily, I'm also a client, as they say. I also do the work, for sure. So I had a lot of that same playing small is kind of what you're talking
Okay.
about,
Yeah.
right? Like playing small, playing
Or
safe,
burying your head in the sand and just
or
ignore.
burying your head in the sand, like, just if I just give myself these little crumbs, then that'll be enough.
Yeah.
And enough is such a massive word, right? It's like this root belief, this is that I often go back to, is with clients and with myself, is just I'm not enough to charge this much, or
Yeah.
whatever that might be. So I grew up in a family where when my dad paid the bills, it was you ran for the hills. Like, he was angry, and it was not nice. It was just, I mean, it was he like, it was like there was a cloud around him, and he'd sit in this dark room too. I always thought, turn on the light. Like, he'd sit in this dark corner of the room and pay and write out the checks, and he was so pissed off, and there was never enough. So I always, in answer to that question, would say, well, I just don't believe there's enough. My root belief is that there isn't enough. So I worked on that a lot, and I worked on that through the story I just told you, like, taking that bold move. I had to believe there was enough. And I don't know, I did feel there was enough. So then I'm thinking, is that really it? So I did a session. I did a RTT session on money beliefs. So before I tell this story, I want to preface with the fact that I call myself One Woo. So there's woo woo, and I'm a single woo. So this is going to sound maybe a little out there, but I think your listeners are going to be right on board. So
We're in a woo world.
I
Yeah,
think I'm in a woo
we're
woo
good.
world. So
We're
I
good.
feel
Safe.
safe. I feel
Yeah.
safe to share right now. So we went back. And so what happens in this session is once you're in hypnosis, you're taken back. The therapist regresses you back to the root cause of your money. And I want to know my root cause because I was still suffering from these money blocks and success blocks, which is what really you're talking about as well.
Yeah.
And I went back and it was very dark. And there was this kind of humming sound. And I could hear my parents' voices. And I can hear my dog's voice right now. Hopefully you can't. So I could hear my parents' voices. And let's fast forward. I was in the womb. I went back to a scene and I heard my dad saying, "We can't afford her. We can't afford her." And like it was just that one that, and it had become a bit of a joke later on where my dad was like, I was the fourth kid. I was an oopsies. It was like I was not planned and things were tight with my parents. They had no money. And so I heard that conversation. And this is what happens in development with babies. And that's why we have to be so careful what we say around wee ones and when they're in our bellies.
Yeah.
And so I created a belief then that I wasn't worth it. And from then on, I felt uncomfortable charging. I felt uncomfortable, God forbid, raising prices. Even in my retail store, that's why I stopped being on the floor and I had my staff do it. I felt like I had to give everyone a discount.
Right.
Even there, where the price is on the damn garment, So now, doing what I do now as a coach and a therapist, it's even harder, right? So I think of your clients and the people that are listening now, where it isn't black and white what you charge. And if that is the root cause, so I was going after the wrong root cause, is what I'm kind of trying to say here, is I thought it was that there's never enough, but the root cause wasn't that. It was that I'm not worthy of charging
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
They can't afford me.
Yeah.
They can't afford me. It was unbelievable. Unbelievable. Shifted things like that. So you don't have to go through hypnosis necessarily to do this. Meditation works wonders. I love Joe Dispenza. I use his meditation to really take you back into what that root cause might be. So I would just really encourage spending that quiet time to go back and think, what is it? What is that thing I need to release?
You know, we spoke a little bit about this on the first podcast, and afterwards I kind of contemplated a little bit about, the situation I grew up in. I grew up in England, which has a class system, a very defined class system: lower class, middle class, upper class. And upper class, if someone was successful or born into it, but if they were successful, they were considered kind of upper class, right? And so the middle class always put down the upper class, right? And so I would say I grew up middle class, and so growing up with parents that kind of poo-pooed the successful or the upper crust or whatever it would be. Yeah, I really contemplated that afterwards about the that mindset that I grew up in.
Yeah, don't be too fancy.
Yeah,
Don't
in
get
the
too big, Michael.
yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
also in the time of Margaret Thatcher was when I grew up. And Margaret Thatcher came from my hometown, Grantham, which is voted as the most boring town in England. But she was born in middle class, right? Not with an accent that she ended up with. And so, even my grandmother, oh, she comes from here, she comes from here. She didn't get that accent, from where she came. So there was always this putting down of someone that succeeded. Not that I was a fan of Margaret Thatcher, but she was a female that succeeded.
Yeah.
And so there's definitely that put down from all generations of my middle class for sure.
What a great realization.
Yeah.
That's another interesting one. See, we've just talked three different. So when you're kind of finding out what is at the root, it's just different for all of us, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then what do you do with that? So now that you know that, how has that shifted things for you?
I don't know if it's shifted yet. Maybe I need to do a
Oh,
session with
need a
you.
little work.
Yeah.
Look deep into my eyes. It's always the clock, right? It's always the watch.
Yeah, yeah. Just so you know, I just want to clarify here that you know, when we're talking about hypnotherapy here, we're not talking about the stage stuff, right? This is a
No.
very, very different thing that you're working.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so that's the studio. So my other audience is the solo yoga teacher, and especially in the last year since COVID, a lot of solo yoga teachers that used to work at studios have been displaced, and now I'm working with a lot of them on trying to figure out their way on their own, how to make a business. The kind of abundant mindset and that scarcity, what I'm seeing a lot of, which you've just spoken a little bit about, but it is those self-worth roadblocks. And always in the beginning when I work with them, it's overcoming. It's very different. Studios are systems and marketing and things like
Mm-hmm.
that, right? That's how I work with them. But with a solo teacher at first, it's getting over the I can't and I don't know
Mm-hmm.
how to's. And it's such a common theme with most yoga teachers that I work with, that 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 self-limiting kind of belief of
Mm-hmm.
can't is a big one, or I don't know how to, massive.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts around those sort of self-beliefs? And
Yeah. I think that, if it's something that's really paralyzing you in a lot of areas in your life, it's always worthwhile to go back to root cause of why is it that I don't believe I can? What is it? So I'm always going to go back to that because I'm a believer. But there's also something else, which is thought work, which is really looking at when I think that thought. So I love to look at the loop. This is very much along the lines of CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, that a lot of therapists use, but it's a great way to break looping thoughts. And so what you do is what is that thought? So it's, I can't do it. I don't know how, like all those thoughts that you said. So if we use the example of I can't do it, and then we go and we really let that sit with us. And then we see what emotion comes up when I think I can't do it. And this is again, like your people, they know how to do this. Like this
and I would
is
say with yoga
wonderful.
teachers, they're very in tune of knowing where they feel it in their body.
Oh, at that, like I know anyone that is, whether they're a yoga teacher or a practitioner, and I ask that question, they're like, right here, right in my
Yeah,
top of my stomach, right
yeah.
in my throat, right on my chest. Like they know exactly where it sits.
It's all here, chest.
Chest,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then look at your health story, right? So
Right.
it's always very interesting. And mine was I couldn't speak, and I ended up with throat cancer, or with thyroid cancer, which I'm all good now. But there's really interesting things. So that's a whole other story as far as how how these emotions create an emotional response, but also a physical response.
Yeah.
So finding that emotion. So I can't do this, finding that emotion. And when I feel that way, so a common one is fear. Common emotion would be fear. It might be scarcity. It might be there's just not enough out there. So I can't do it because what's the point? It might be that compare and despair, looking at other yoga teachers,
Yeah.
seeing how well they're doing. Oh, I can't possibly do that. They've got some magic bean that I don't
Which creates a
have.
shutdown.
Exact. So that was you. Oh, how beautiful. You went right to the next thing, which is then what's the result? And the result is shutting down. So the result is shutting down, burying your head in the sand, la 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 la, that kind of
Dusting a
thing.
plant.
Dusting a plant. Yes. Oh, that clean plant. So it's all those. So looking at that. And then when you think, when I shut down, now what's the thought? Oh, I can't do anything. Look at me, I'm a slug, I'm useless, I don't know and now, oh my God, then the loop just starts right over again. And then when I think that, now it's the emotion, now it's the result. Maybe I snap at people, maybe I, bury away and I don't ask and I don't reach out to clients, I don't, whatever it is, whatever that result is. And this loop continues. So, without hypnotherapy and going deeper, that's a really great tool. And that is a gold standard for therapy and for coaching, where we look at the thoughts. But where this gets tricky is sometimes really trying to figure out what that emotion is, right? And we want to make sure we go after the right emotion. So on that thought train, this is where I love to bring up my buddy and Dr. Joe Dispenza, who I'm a giant follower of. And he talks a lot about how the thought creates that electrical charge, okay, in the quantum field. The thought puts it out there. So if we're talking about abundance and money and success, things like that, it's like, yep, I'm rolling. I've hired this amazing business consultant, Michael J. I'm kicking it. Like I'm doing thought, I'm doing the thing. But the emotion is what attracts it to you. So the emotion is the magnetic charge. So you want to make sure that with that thought, there's a corresponding emotion that is powerful and positive. So when that emotion is powerful and positive, like there is abundance, I am growing, I'm doing the right things, and I feel so good about myself. I am enough. I feel amazing. I feel abundant. I feel positive. Now we're talking about, now you start watching the numbers grow in your bank account. It really works like that. It sounds almost simplistic, but it's just energy. Money's just energy.
So do we at first, when we're practicing that, do we fake it till we make it at first?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Start the doing, because you have control over your thoughts, first of all. And we also, to some degree, have control over our emotions, but I'm going to say that they're connected to our thoughts. And we definitely have control over what we do. So what is the action that comes with that feeling? It's not really result, it's action. Okay. So it's your thought leads to your feelings, which leads to your actions, which leads to your results.
Okay.
Sorry, I missed a line there. So what we have some control over is that action part.
Yeah.
So if we in that action part just do the damn thing, open up those financials, dive in, if you don't understand them, you hire someone like yourself.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I hired a consultant, you hired me. This is how the world works. We cannot be expected to know it all and do it all and be fantastic at everything. We just can't. Wouldn't that be lovely? And if that's not your strong point, find someone who knows this stuff. And then we change that doing part. So now we just do the thing. Well, guess what? Then let's go backwards now. Let's reverse engineer, as they say. Let's look at our emotions when we're doing that. I'm feeling kind of confident. I'm feeling kind of kick-ass. Like I'm doing that thing. What's the thought? That the thought is, I am enough. I'm amazing. I'm on my right track. This feels good for me. You
I almost
see,
feel
so you
like we
can.
should print some t-shirts that say I am enough.
Oh, I am enough is just freaking everything.
Yeah.
Like it's the root cause. There's three. There's three root causes, pretty much hands down for anything. And it's I am enough being a root cause to things that are causing us crap in our life. Another one is that it's not available to me. So those other yoga studios can kill it, but not me. They have a better location. They have this, they have that,
Yeah.
whatever it is. That yoga teacher has a bigger following, has more people, that kind of thing. And then the other one is that I'm different. And so I'm different, which can go back to so many, usually when that comes up, people are regressing right back to childhood. The worst hell when you're a kid is that you're different from everybody. So it is about, I'm different. Well, so now what you and I know, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners know, is that's your secret sauce. That thing that makes you feel different. Oh, sing that from the rooftops. That's what's going to bring the people to you. I just watched Britney Spears documentary last night, which was like heart-wrenching, by the way. And it was this one fellow that's one of her like free Britney people. And he was just saying, like, I looked at her and she felt different and I felt different. I felt connected to her. And you hear that about, Lady Gaga, and you hear that of, like Billie Eilish, you hear that about so many of these people. It's their difference, the thing that made them feel
and
different.
their story, right? I mean, I work
Yeah.
with, especially with solo teachers, that their story is their superpower.
Sure. Yeah,
Really,
absolutely.
no matter what the story is, your history, and also when I work with them on trying to find their ideal audience, usually, not always, but usually their ideal audience is them before they found yoga.
Yeah,
Right. And
exactly.
so really, I'm just working with a client, Annette, who is just rocking it. And so I
Mm,
asked her, and she was on my last podcast about how to create a 8-week registered series. She wrote an amazing landing page, and she's a writer. And so I asked her, how did she do that? And so she said she just wrote her old self. And
mm,
that was kind of her magic of creating her program, was that she was trying to attract the people that were in the place that she used to be.
mm.
So yeah,
Love
definitely
that.
your story, I truly believe, is your superpower, and I really don't think it should be downplayed at all. Um,
And to share the dark parts of your story, right? Like I
yeah,
remember I was in a writing course
vulnerability.
and we had a project where we went into the cave, like into the cave, our darkness, that
Mm,
where we meet your shadow self, all those
yeah,
parts of you that aren't so purdy, and what helped you and everything. And then the visual that I love and I think about it all the time is coming out of the cave and meeting somebody going in. And
mm,
as you're coming out, and what do you say to them? How do you help them?
right,
So much to what you just said,
yeah.
somebody
And
just starting their journey. Yeah, I love it too.
so let's talk about is it EFT? Did you say
EFT. Yeah.
EFT? Yeah,
Yeah, let's dive into that a bit.
mm,
So this was something I just added a few months ago. I've been following it for a long time and kind of following videos on YouTube, and there's tons, and they're great. They're fantastic. I highly recommend them. There's so much. What I love about EFT is it doesn't have to cost you money. It can be a free resource. Um, you know, there's lots. I'm not going to go into all the people on there. You'll find somebody that you connect with for
yeah,
sure. So it stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. It's been around forever. It's also known as tapping. And the idea behind it, without getting too technical, is that we are clearing our energy, clearing using 8 meridian points specifically, using what they call the basic recipe. So that's what I'm going to do today with you guys, and just go through what the process is, a very simple process of clearing an emotion that is no longer serving you. So there's a couple important things to remember. One in particular is to be as specific as you can. So when you are thinking of this emotion, whether it is about feeling not enough or feeling scared or guilty or whatever, pick a lovely emotion, whatever that emotion is, if you can go back and find a time in your childhood, the earliest memory you have around that emotion, that's gold. That when you go back to that time, even if it doesn't have anything to do with what's happening now, maybe you feel guilty about you you told somebody a secret that you shouldn't have told. A friend confided in you and you're feeling guilty about that. I would really encourage you to go back to a time you had a similar feeling when you were younger, because that's when that that thought was imprinted on you. You're
mm,
bad. You should feel bad about that. So, and if you can't, use the current story, but if you can go back, it's even better. So being really specific, and don't get caught up in the words that you say. So I'm going to guide you through something today that is my words, but I really encourage you to use your own words. And as you're tapping through through each of the meridian points, just start talking. I did this once on a money thing. I still felt like there was something I needed to clear. And as I was tapping, it was crazy. Words were just like coming out of my mouth, clearing until I went to, and I won't go into it, it's too long of a story, but until I got to the root cause of that. And I was like, that's it? Holy crap. And I just feel so much more clear and open about this. So this is about clearing energy. There's tons of studies that have been done on EFT. It's extremely powerful. Lots. This is not woo woo. This is truly, and again, I know who I'm speaking to here. You understand energy and understand how important it is to clear. And this is a wonderful way to clear energy. And I know a lot of yogis just absolutely adore EFT. So I'm probably preaching to the choir here for a lot of people, but I thought we could do one together.
Okay.
And then just, I'm going to, because I know a lot of people aren't seeing this on video, so I'm going to explain where you're going to find these meridian points on your body. I just need to pull.
And then folks, if you are interested in seeing the video always gets uploaded. The video version always gets uploaded into my free Yoga Biz Camp community. So if you go to yogabizcamp.com and then click on the Yoga Biz Camp link, you can get access into the community there. It's just for yoga studios and teachers, but all the video versions of these podcasts go in there.
Perfect. Okay, so let's get started. So this is going to be on just really moving maybe some of those money blocks that you might have, some of that negative energy around money. So even if right now you can think about your feelings around money and when you are not feeling good about money, when it's feeling like a stress in your life or when you're feeling scarcity, I just want you to really settle into that. And the first thing we want to do is on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being I'm freaking out, this is horrible, I'm totally stressed out. 1 being I'm feeling pretty calm, but there's still a little bit going on. I want you to gauge that from 1 to 10. And just remember that number or write it down. And then now we're going to get started. So the first step when doing EFT is we start tapping on our karate chop. So that's right here on the side of your hand. It does not matter which side you use through this. We have mirror meridians, so they see each other. So I'm right-handed, so I always use my right hand. And we start tapping. And this is where we use our statement. So this is a statement that we use, and it will sound something like this. And you can just repeat after me. You can either repeat out loud or to yourself. Even though I sometimes feel blocked when it comes to money, I fully and completely love and accept myself. And then tapping on that karate chop still, we're going to repeat this 2 more times, a version of that. Even though I've been known to bury my head in the sand when it comes to money, I fully and completely love and accept myself. Even though I'm scared that I might not be able to make money doing what I love, I fully and completely love and accept myself. So now we start tapping on the meridian points. And the first one is the top of your head. And I kind of suggest going around a little bit to make sure you get it. But sometimes you're going to start doing this and you're going to feel a little tender point eventually, and you'll know exactly where it is. So I want you to just tap on your head and repeat these blocks around money. Now the second one is on the corner of, just at the beginning of your eyebrow, just on the top of it. Can make me feel scared and anxious. Using 2 or 3 fingers to tap is perfect. And then go to the side of your eye, that bone on the side of your eye. These blocks around money. And then that bone underneath your eye. Cause me to think small and pay myself or charge less than I want to. And now tapping just below your nose, right above your lip. When I don't make much money, I feel it's a reflection of my worth. Now underneath your lip, right in that crease on your chin, I don't feel enough. And now just below your collarbone, so that little divot, just go down and go to the right or left, right below that bone. I'm scared to charge more because I might lose clients. And now underneath your armpit, about 4 inches down, kind of in the middle of the bra strap for women. I'm scared to really dig into my financials because I don't want to find out I'm failing. Now back up to the top of your head. All these blocks around money. Corner of your eyebrow. I don't set big goals because I feel bad when I don't reach them. Side of your eye. So I stay safe and don't take things to the next level. Underneath your eye. I don't like to talk about money. Under your nose. It stresses me out. Under your lip. I worry I can't actually make a living at this. Your collarbone. Even though I see others doing it. Under your armpit. I'm not sure if I can be successful. And one last time, back at the top of your head. But I know I have everything I need to be successful. Corner of your eye. I'm an expert at what I do, and the world needs what I have to offer. Side of your eye. Money is energy, and I am choosing to allow it to flow freely through me. Under your eye. I'm clearing any old blocks or old, outdated beliefs around money. Under your nose. I am a magnet to money. Under your lip. We are either attracting or repelling money, and I choose to attract more of it. On your collarbone, I choose to receive money easily. And under your armpit, because I am worthy, I am enough. Now just take a nice deep breath in and exhale. And then just check in with your body again. Check in with your emotions on that scale of 1 to 10. Have you come down at all? Have you come down at all, Michael?
I will be practicing that.
Yeah. So the idea is that, say you were at a 7 and you came down to like a 3 or a 4. That's pretty fantastic. You've halved your stress or anxiety, but keep going. Keep doing it. It means there's more to clear. And you just keep talking. So I like doing a minimum of 3 rounds. And on the 3rd round, I do a reframe. You probably noticed that in the first 2 rounds, it was all quite negative. A lot of people are a bit like, I don't want to say these things, like I'm making it true. That's the idea. We need to disrupt it. We call it the disruptors. So we're disrupting that energy in there. We're recognizing it, we're disrupting it, and then creating a reframe. Not everyone does that. I really believe in it. I love it. I think it's really powerful to finish with the reframe and to see how you feel. And you can always go back if a new thought or a new emotion has come up, go back to your karate chop point. You know, even though I'm feeling completely out of control with money, I fully and completely love and accept myself. So that's what it sounds like.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How do people find you? And also, I do believe you have some giveaways as well on your website, right?
I do, yeah. So my website is coachki.com.
I'll put those in the show notes as well.
Perfect. And if you go to events, I'm going to rename that tab, but if you go to events, you'll find there's a free recording for sleep. When you just have to sign up with your email address and you'll get sent it in your email box, and it's wonderful and it has helped many people have wonderful sleeps. There's also a free recording to meet your future self, which is really fun. So if you're at that stage where you're really, I call it the dreaming and scheming stage, where you're like getting really excited about what your future looks like, this can be really, really beneficial. It's often the final thing I do when I work with clients, and we really get to narrow down what it is that they see, and also meeting that wise guide, meeting that future self. So those are the freebies on the site. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook at Coach Christine with a K Irving. Coach Christine Irving.
And folks, I cannot recommend her enough. She is one of my favorite people in the world. And I just love how you're serving the world right now. It's like your story, and your superpower of your story is helping so many other people now. So
Mm,
thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to have you on again. Um,
thank you. I can't wait.
thank you for helping my community.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
All those lovely things right back at you, my friend.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
This is Yoga Biz Camp. This is my new by invite only dedicated space to support yoga businesses. It's like Facebook but without all the noise and clutter. Here you will find all my resources, including free monthly fireside chat business question and answer time with myself, and along with all of my different communities from studios to solos to the inner circle. Here you'll find guest interviews with leaders in our industry, and as well as all of my free resources, all in one dedicated space. If you're ready to become the next Yoga Biz champ and get private invite into my free community support space, go to yogabizcamp.com, click on Yoga Biz Camp, and I will see you on the inside. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on our podcast. It really helps us out a lot. Thanks a million.